Welcome to the Bejeweled podcast, the podcast that occasionally goes back to Tetris because I want to. Hello guys, what is up? I am the Up121 and welcome to Bejeweled podcast number 33. Apologies for the numbering error I made last time, but I was just too excited to come back to it after like 8 months. But ladies and gentlemen, it's a special Bejeweled podcast today because with the Classic Tetris World Championship 2025 around the corner, and I'm not attending, unfortunately. I, and a special guest as you'll see in a moment, will be discussing this year's Classic Tetris World Championship and the hype that is around it, especially with all the happenings that have happened in the last 12 months. With that said, if you're hyped for another podcast, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe for content if you're new, and of course, ring that bell to notify anytime I upload last podcast on the card top right. With that said, let me introduce my special guest. He is a commentator for last year's CTWC and a host of several Tetris Effect connected tournaments, which I just so happen to be a part of too. It's a good buddy of mine. His name is Ninja of Ninjas 5.
Hello everyone, yes, I am the Ninja of Ninjas 5. And there's more to my resume now in the Classic Tetris. So not only do I do the TEC, I'm actually being the NTC technician, OBS operator, basically all of the above.
So basically you're joining Yobi in forces.
I will be his right-hand man in that event.
Or left, depending on how you play it. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, yeah, there's a lot to discuss about this year's Tetris CTWC, and we're gonna get into it right now. So are you ready, Ninja?
You're ready.
Alright, well, let's get things started. Let me just bop up the music in like that. Let's get things started. Alright, so I mean, before we even go anywhere, since I know that some of my audience may not even be not know as much about CTWC, let's quickly talk about it real quick. And you know, it's history.
Yeah, a lot of history. So I was not there during the early days, but just maybe like a couple years in it. Should we start from the beginning?
Oh yes, indeed. It all started 2010 when it first came out. I mean, I guess it was just kind of all a win because like at the time, I mean, no, actually, there was just like many veteran players to this day that still play as well. Of course, we know who has won like 7 of the first 8. Rest in peace, Jonas Neubauer. I did make a video about it.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
And then, of course, one person in particular took the crown away in 2014 by the name of Harry Hong.
Yeah, and during that whole time, it was still pretty much Jonas Neubauer, like you said, taking 7 championships. It wasn't until 2018 when, you know, something unexpected happened. And a young 16-year-old kid at the time, Joseph Saline, swept our 7-time champion at that time.
Which was unprecedented, at least for its time, because we never, I mean, who would expect, you know, a young boy to all of a sudden sweep a veteran player?
Mm-hmm. A lot goes to, of course, the playstyle that was showing dominance, or trying to show dominance in that time, because we do know that hyper tapping was a playstyle, but not everyone could do it. And the only one that was popular before Joseph was, of course, KORYAN, and KORYAN wasn't able to really get the championship with that OP at the time playstyle until, you know, Joseph Saline kind of perfected it and got the championship in 2018.
And follow it up with defending his championship in 2019, the 10th anniversary of CTWC, the meaning that it has lasted for 10 years at that time.
Yep, 2-time, and then that year, there was slowly a rise of hyper tappers. So DAS was slowly, the DAS playstyle was slowly getting down. Batboy at that 2019 was the top-ranking DAS, top DAS player in that year, ranking in 3rd place. So it kind of started showing there that the DAS playstyle slowly started getting down the ranks there in CTWC.
Let me clarify you quickly. Young hyper tappers, because it was a big influx of young players coming to the fray. I mean, you have the legends of now and also the legends of old, like who have like joined from nowhere just to like say, hey, I also can do that.
Mm-hmm. And it was such a big wave of players, like you said, young players just wanting to play this game of Tetris, saying that, hey, maybe I can be a good Tetris player as well.
To the
And
point,
it showed.
yeah, it showed. I mean, it showed in the tournament after. Despite the pandemic, we saw like a massive number of young players coming in with crazy qualifiers to show too.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's not like the veterans did not perform as well. I mean, you had Quaid, I believe, was like 4 max outs in 2020. Just Newbauer was still showing prowess with 2 or 3, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the overwhelming influx of new players like just dominated the scene, and also you saw people like you never even heard of probably if you haven't been paying attention. All of a sudden say, "Hey, welcome!" I say, "Hello world."
A lot probably had to go through it because, as much as CTWC is a annual event, there was this need of more Tetris action, and so that's when CTM was made, and you just started seeing more players there, and then that skill transferred to CTWC as well.
Yeah, indeed. And of course, in 2020, we saw the very first time a brother v brother grand finale, with Dog, the younger of the two, taking the crown barely in a reverse sweep, I believe.
Yep, against Big Brother Andy.
And then he followed up as well himself, just how Joseph did it. He followed up in 2021 when he proved that tapping was still superior at its time, when a new roll style was about to be birthed.
Yeah, 2021 had some had some rollers. Of course, we know in the finals it ended up being Dog versus Huff, and Huff just showing the dominance of roll, like how far he was able to get into that tournament that year. And so you could see that as the playstyle evolved, you can see that was the playstyle that, of course, would make it to the finals. Up to 2022 and on, it just seems to be only rollers making it to the finals.
And then we saw a case of you never know what's gonna happen. Like one smidge of bad RNG could affect an entire tournament, and we see that with the variability of our champions right after. 2022 was Area ICX, 2023 Fractal, and of course last year's champion hoping to defend, Alex-T.
Yeah, we did also forgot to mention in 2022 there was no line cap, so that kind of changed the whole playstyle that year, where people could just play very conservative. But once 2023 and 2024 and on went on, there was that level 39 double kill screen where they had to get that kill screen that the game originally thought no one could play and double that speed just to prevent people from going even further.
And it brought out some incredible matches too, because you saw you could see the intensity of how much the players want to push the envelope of how far they can go.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. It was impressive to see. You would think that because at the time when there was no line cap, people would just play conservative. It's who's gonna play chicken first. But no, with this new line cap and the dominance of rolling, it's I gotta be aggressive, efficient all the way up before level 39 happens. And those are some really good, exciting matches to see, especially if you were there at 2024. It was so good that they had to extend the seats just for more people to watch, and that still wasn't enough.
The action was so hot to the point that a fire alarm got triggered.
Yep, it was too hot to handle.
That was, of course, it was the info. That was the very first time we've seen an event. Hang on, let me get the words right. That was the first time we saw an expedition location have such a situation like that.
Mm-hmm.
And crazy, that was the first one I ever attended, and of course, the moment I attend, fire alarm.
Yeah, and I mean, to kind of keep in subject with the fire alarm, of course, it did happen again in another Tetris event, but it wasn't a open playstyle tournament. It was a DAS event called Jonas Cup where it happened again.
Oh, jeez. That's just too hot, apparently. Or maybe it's just the environment. I don't know. With that said, you actually mentioned about the playstyle changes over the years. I actually want to get into that because, boy, who would have thought that a 1989 game played on CRTs would also become, you know, the basis for like such evolution and revolution, I dare say, of playstyles.
Agreed. Yeah, I don't think the creator of Tetris ever thought that the 1989 version of Tetris could never be played past 29.
And here we are. 6 years, now I think about it, ever since the envelope was steadily pushed. And we know that, and we think about it, Joseph still is proving that hypertapping can still push the barriers. Because if you think about it, he probably has one of the very few hyper-tapping level 40s. If I remember. Not level 40, level 37? I forgot where he pushed it.
I think he was one of the first few unverified 1.6 players. Unverified because no footage was shown, just a picture.
Yeah. And with hyper-tapping too, which is absolutely ridiculous. With that said, though, of course we had hyper-tapping like take over because of KORYAN started it. If you think about it, KORYAN, if not for him trying it out in 2016 with hyper-tapping and going as far as he did, he wouldn't have inspired Joseph Saley to do exactly the same. See him break countless records and, well, win it all in 2018.
Yeah, that same year, he had to face, Joseph had to face his mentor, the one who he looked up to in a battle of hyper tappers, only to get an upset and Joseph moving on to the finals. Of course, we do have to talk about the very first known hyper tapper in the early 90s, of course, Thor, but his version of hyper tapping is not the one that you would see KORYAN and Joseph adopt.
It was definitely a lot different, but yes, definitely need to mention the forefather of hyper tapping at the time. It's kind of like, okay, I don't mean to make a bowling reference. It's kind of like when they did the preview about like how two hands was changing the future of bowling, and they actually talked about the very first two-hander at the time. So it's quite reminiscent when we think about how Thor Eklund was the very first hyper tapper at that.
Yeah, I was one of those people who adopted the two-handed bowling because I like playing bowling as well. So I could see, like, you know, changing playstyle, changing grips like that just evolves the game and becomes, you know, different than, or the way people play it now. It's so different. Bowling and Tetris, of course.
Oh yes. And then I think the biggest thing, I think a lot of people, Tetris players, can agree on is the change in the community and the growth. Oh my goodness, the growth that happened because of CTWC.
Agreed. Going back in time, because of what happened in 2018, the quals in 2019 was just way too long. Like, you could only barely get one or two, maybe 3 games if you're lucky to qual, and that was it. So that was so that showed the growth of Tetris, that they had to change the way qualifiers work when we went back in person in 2022.
I don't believe it's actually exactly Joseph's like moment in 2018, but I feel like it was 2019 in the round of 8 when Joseph Saley faced off against Green Tea, another youngster at that I believe was what really started that fire in the youngsters to try it out. Like, for me, 2018 was the foundation. 2019 top 8 between those two was the spark that ignited that flame.
The first ever double max out, correct?
Yeah, you see these two players just pushing like each other to no end. And I feel like that was what really started. It's like, wait a second, this looks exciting, like, from youngsters. If they could do it, why can't I? When you have a representation that is similarly aged or maybe even younger for some cases, showcasing what is possible, it does serve as a great catalyst for more people to follow. And we see that with 2020, as you mentioned, with so many youngsters joining in, even despite the pandemic.
Yeah, I did want to mention about what you were saying about young players. I think because of the fact that they have not as much fear as older adults would do. That's why you see in the early days of CTWC, they would play a little bit more conservative on 19, but the younger players would just play more aggressive in Tetris and makes these high score to the point that, you know, people just had to turn the DAS players at the time just had to keep turning up the aggression to try to keep up. So aggression took place of that because of those young players, to my opinion.
Oh no, I believe it's a solid opinion. But the overall arcing thing is to think that I don't think if you would ask Quaid, Ben Mullen, Alex Kerr, or any of the veterans, that they would have seen the environment, they've seen the support and the community itself be this huge and this supportive when you ask them right now in 2025.
Yep, agreed with that. And one thing I did want to kind of talk about that earlier that you mentioned about the double max out. You would have expected at that time, because there was a rise of hyper tappers, that it would have been 2 hyper tappers to get the first double max out, but it actually wasn't. If you think about it, it was aggressive. It was an aggressive DAS player of green tea versus the hyper tapper Joseph, and that just showed that even DAS players can max out in competition, and not only just the hyper tappers.
Yeah, it definitely is crazy. Like, when you think about it, it's like, it proves that, you know, any playstyle can still dominate. And as we see from DAS Masters, we still see people, like, you know, pushing, like, to be able to max out almost every game, despite the pieces they're given. With that said, though, it's crazy. As I mentioned, it all of a sudden, a game that, you know, was so old, it's like, we turned 40 last year. Now, all of a sudden, a global esports phenomenon. And as you mentioned, I don't think even Alexei Pajinov even expected this.
Nope. It was way beyond what he expected with the game that he just developed in Russia with one of the computers for the Russian government. And it's just crazy how far that game has gone.
You know, now that I think about it, ever since like 2022 or 2000, like around that time, a lot of different Tetris games have also been popping out. Like, not just say like fan games like Santris, but you also have Tetrachroma made by Sparse Vector. You have Joltzy, Super Enemies Joltzy, which I know Game Scout promoted a bit as well. Like, it wasn't only just, oh, people playing that has increased. It's also like the inspiration that has increased. So it's quite crazy now that I think about it further, how much of an influence this game has, you know, put on the world, on the wide world.
Yeah, it just also just makes things that we thought was never gonna come back just miraculously, aka TGM4.
Oh yeah, true. I forgot Absolute Eye. Which, by the way, Kirby, wow, what a cheese. I'll shout out you right now, because, boy, she's the first one ever to get Grandmaster rounds on TGM4. But the way she did it, yeah, props. Anyways, enough said about the actual tournament, the history. Let's actually talk about this year's tournament, because I mean, there's a ton I want to talk about, because I thank God for this. There were quite a few moments recently that I want to draw from that really speak to how crazy this year could potentially be for CTWC. So, my first pointer, and I think you will agree on this, another new champion on the horizon.
Are we talking about meme?
Well, okay, not only just that, but I feel like there's so many other, like, there are a few other players that have not proven their full potential to become champion yet. I mean, you have Sitnev, runner-up from 2 years ago. You have Huff, runner-up from 4 years ago. Even though he's not, has been as prominent, he still has shown that he can still roll to, the same wavelength as top players. You have Blue Scooty, who has still yet to win the CTWC as well. Let's not put him out of that category. But I feel like with what happened, with the variability of the champions as of recent, I'm honestly will not be surprised if we see a 4th new champion in a row.
Like, no 2-time champion. We were thinking that there could be a potentially brand new champion in 2025, right?
And definitely so. With the bigger thing being as well that now I think about it, also like Pixel Andy too. Like Pixel Andy as well has yet to like prove like, hey, I still have the potential to become a champion.
Agreed.
So
yeah, I was gonna comment. With top players back in 2022, it was almost guaranteed that there was the big 6. And now, because players are just getting really good, you couldn't really like give a number. Like even Game Scout, when he had to do a potential winner for 2023, he couldn't say, oh, it's gonna be one of the top 6 again, or the big 6. It was just like, you don't know who. And in 2025, like you said, it could be another brand new champion.
Yeah. You mentioned it as the Big 13, I remember it. I do have a big list, as you'll see in a moment. Based off like what I've observed and what I've seen over the past few months, at least, especially the aftermath of 2024 too. I also had taken that to the extent. Another thing to point out, of course, at this point, there really is no such thing as a safe lead in Tetris. You could have a almost 300,000 point lead when you top out, and you still can lose.
Exactly. Especially with, again, the rolling playstyle, and of course how many points a Tetris is worth in kill screen.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, I think based off of what I've observed, I believe it's like 1 million points up for grabs in the kill screen. So it's like anything can happen. And you mentioned about Tetris, yeah, they are worth way more in the later levels. A few examples of what I've seen is last year, of course, when Huff took Game 2 off of Dog, he had to overcome a 300,000 point, near 300,000 point like deficit to win on the double kill screen.
Oh, wow.
And in the podcast last year, I mentioned him as Miles the Magician. Because that's just ridiculous. Alongside, of course, some other stuff he has done. Like the year prior, he did a kill screen dirty Tetris to beat Blue Scooty in Game 3. When he was on the ropes.
Wow.
Like... So yeah, that's why I was just like, boy, like he's crazy. Another thing to point out was what Dog Playing Tetris mentioned just recently with the May 2025 Masters event coming to a close, and him finally tying KORYAN in most number of CTM wins, excluding DAS for those wondering. He mentioned that he really played safe. Like he didn't want to be too rash. He didn't want to like push too much just to try and like overcome a deficit that he was chasing. He just played conservatively yet smartly. And it resulted in what Van Weller quoted as the most dominating CTM performance ever, because he did not lose a single game. Now, granted, I did check his route to champion spot. He didn't face like the big guns like Fractal, Blue Scooty, Alex, etc. But he still had some powerhouses like Adam Dangler and Eyeball to like contend with. And another key thing as well is that I think his last match against Eyeball, there were so many times Eyeball and SV. I think out of the 6 games he won, 4 of the games he had to chase down on the kill screen.
Wow.
And his kill screen chase downs were not like, very small. It was like about like 100k at the very least to 200k. So, as I mentioned, no lead is safe, especially when you're next to a world-class Tetris player.
I was just gonna also comment about like sometimes you said dog playing a little bit conservative, but sometimes when you play too conservative, all it takes is just a couple Tetris to close the gap to the point where you just gain the lead right away. Dog has shown again how dominant he is, especially being in the finals last year. There's also one thing I remembered with Dog, knowing when to play aggressive and when not to play aggressive, because in the TEC World Championships, which he won in 2024, he was in a big disadvantage against Sodium, but all it took was maybe 3 Tetrises in kill screen and he quickly caught up. So like you said, it's not safe.
Not safe at all.
Just having a long lead is not safe, and that's just crazy with how this game is played. And I always comment about that, like sometimes people don't want to play conservative because of the fact that someone could easily catch up. But the way you were explaining how Dog was playing in CTM Masters, it feels like it's one of those techniques that DAS players would do back in the days when they would play a little safe in the early levels of 19 speeds, but once they reach like level 25, that's when they're going to say, oh, okay, now I need to start turning into aggression if I need to start catching up with my opponent. And maybe that's what we will probably see a lot in a CTWC.
I feel like as well, I'm going to quote Lewis Hamilton on this, when he mentioned how it's easier to chase rather than be ahead. Because that being ahead, one mistake and your tournament, your game might be over. But when you're chasing, you know that even if you make a mistake, it's all right. You can still recover. Like one mistake doesn't mean like it's the end of the world. You can still catch up and put a statement. And I think that's is reminiscent of what Dog did to take it all home, 12-0 overall.
Wow.
Like that's just insane. But yeah, even then, I think we can all agree that once we get to the tournament, we can already say no lead is safe. Like when someone tops out, it's almost guaranteed they lose unless the opponent's board is very jumbled up. Last thing to talk about, potentially even better gameplay than ever.
Better gameplay? Oh yeah, that I wouldn't be surprised. There's talks in the community of like how many max outs it's gonna take just to make it to the gold bracket, and if we end up getting lesser attendance, the ones who are gonna be there in attendance are probably gonna still play like the best they've ever played before, and just like make multiple max outs just to make bracket. So that's something that is a question this year, is like how many max outs will it take?
We know that last year the cutoff point was 4 max outs, and even the silver bracket, we needed a max out, I believe, in order to, or close to it, in order to make it the silver bracket.
It's like a very close 800-ish, maybe close to 900. So just to make it to the silver.
Absolutely crazy. But for me, it's not only just the idea that qualifying could be even more intense than ever. It's also, for me, the fact that we're seeing... Hey on Zebra, how you doing? Just under 900k for silver. Oh, just under 900k. But even then, potentially I won't be surprised if silver bracket needs a max out.
I feel like if it's not this year, it could potentially be next year.
Oh, yes, indeed. Now, besides that, there's one more thing I wanted to mention. It actually happened recently. I kind of spotted this on a whim, but I'm so glad that I did. Pixel Andy and Tristov did a friendly against each other. I believe it was a best of 5 friendly. And when I witnessed it, I was... Oh, you were saying 30 seconds Z. Well, thank you, Non-Zen-Pro, for that. But when I witnessed that friendly match, I was flabbergasted and also anticipative. The way they played was giving me hope that this year could be a year of many firsts still. This year marks the 3rd year in which we have the super kill screen. Tristop and Pixel Andy were playing on Nestris.org, if you're wondering, but of course they were using their controllers. Their best of 5, even though I didn't see it through, in their first 3 games, Tristop rolled over not once, but twice in a row, and in one of their games, he lost with a rollover.
Wow.
Pixel Andy had a 1.7.
Wow. That is just insane. Like a rollover, saying that a rollover is not a guaranteed win anymore.
Are we going to see that? Are we going to see the very first losing rollover score?
You know, I'd be even surprised if we see multiple 2 mils before kill screen, just taking it down to that close.
Didn't only one person have got 2 mil, and that was Dog in CTL?
Yes. That was Dog. A previous world record holder at that time was Blue Scooty, I believe.
Yeah.
No. Alex T.
Actually, yeah. Then Dog pretty much said, like, hey, let me finally break the 2 mil mark. And he could have gotten more if the RNG was kind. Because he was also setting up for a Tetris from the last part. Let's see here. But yeah, no. When I witnessed that match and seeing like how crazy it is and how consistent the players were, especially Tristop, which I'll get into in due time, I can't wait to see how, you know, insanely consistent all these players will be in due time once we get to CTWC in Pasadena.
Agreed. So speaking, well, we could talk about their stats in a bit.
Yes.
Because I'm pulling off some of the CTM master event leaderboards, and there's some interesting stats there to see.
And what I was wondering, we're going to base it off CTM since it is the most accurate of stats in terms of like what CTWC is all about. I mean, I will also kind of draw from actual CTWC stats because, as you guys know, I've been tabulating stats over the last 2 years, and especially last year when I not only had to tabulate the phase score, so like before transition, after transition, and after kill screen, but I also had to track the kill screen Tetrises because these players are insane.
Yeah, going for those kill screen Tetrises.
So I will be drawing from those once we talk about that. But even then, I think anyone could agree that this year could see some absolutely ridiculous gameplay from these players to the point that even I probably will faint from tracking at home in Singapore.
Agreed.
And last thoughts before we move on to our big 5, hint.
Big 5.
You'll see in a moment. Any last thoughts before I move on?
No, I mean, I think we talked a lot about it. We just really don't know what to expect in CTWC 2025, but we'll have our theories. I'll have my theories.
Thank you, NonZenPro, for the link for those who are watching the chat. I see that reviewers. Thank you very much. All right, let's move on. Now, I say the big 5 because I'll be honest, I was looking through like lots of stuff around. I also was looking at CTM stats to an extent. And to be honest, from history and like just vague memory of what I've seen from like the CTWC website, the monthly Tetris website, etc., I've come up with just 5 people who I believe have the higher chance of winning it all. Now, first off, we can't ignore the 2-time world champion Dog playing Tetris, especially with what he has done recently. Last thing about the accolades. He's a 2-time world champion. He has never finished out the top 4 in all of his tournaments. He's a 2-time DAS Master champion, so he has that, strong, mentality of how to stack, efficiently. Like, let's not forget, even though DAS is a different gameplay, you still need to be able to stack efficiently in order to score. Especially when you are limited in your movement in the pieces. But only that, he has won several regionals. He has won, let me think, did he win the Jonas Cup, Ninja?
No, the Jonas Cup was won by Fractal that year.
Fractal. Okay.
It was Blue Scooty versus Fractal in the finals, and then the brothers were in the semis.
Ah, there we go. Anyways, let me think about this real quick. He just won. And in terms of recent achievements, he's the first ever to do the level rollover with the world record high score of 29 million. He's won the Mega Masters. He just won the Masters. He's on a tear, almost similar to, I dare say, Fractal times. So with that said, there's no question that he is not out of the question for this year's championship.
If there's one thing I do want to comment about Dog, he might have more stamina than all of the other players, I could say, especially being the first rebirth player, and that took a lot of stamina.
And he's 18.
What? 18?
I believe he's 18. When he won 2020 was 13 years old.
Yeah, 2020. Wow. Oh my gosh, they're just aging very quick.
Wait, does that mean if Dog wins now, we can finally have that alcohol party that we haven't had so long?
Maybe in Dog years, but not yet. Just because, in the States, you got to be 21. If we're talking about if we're talking about Dog in Dog years, then yeah, he's fine.
Clipping that. I'm clipping that. Oh, that was so good. Anyways, back to the main conversation. His accolades speak volumes, and I won't be surprised if he continues on that tear. And before he continues that 12-0 streak. If he ends up going on a run and wins everything until grand finals, that would be a staggering 28 potentially, maybe, if the format is what I think it is. 28 games won in a row.
Oh, wow.
Which, of course, I feel like if it ain't Tetris tournament, that usually sounds unheard of. But if he keeps that consistency, if he keeps up that rigor that he has shown, he can definitely set the stage for historic moments.
Interesting thing I just also saw of how dominant Dog could potentially be. And thank you to the Non-Zempro for showing us the spreadsheet here. He's very close to having as many total games as Jonas. Jonas is at 102 Tetris games, whereas Dog right now is at 98. So that record is going to be broken this year at CTWC. Jonas's record is going to be broken. And with Dog, like you say, always being in the top 4, that's almost guaranteed that he always wins and gets it to the top 4.
That is actually crazy. That is such a crazy stat. It's almost like, you know how they track the threes in basketball? You just keep traveling all of that, and all of a sudden, wait a second, a certain stat is about to be broken. That we never thought could be broken. Next person on the docket for the potential championship is, of course, Fractal. Now, I'm not sure about you, Ninja, but for me, right, I feel like he's been somewhat on the sidelines recently, but he's kind of been, training on the higher, he's been training on the higher levels with, forced garbage on his stack, basically, just to train himself for, high-pressure situations when he needs to, downstack at those moments. Do you think he has, do you think he's also in the run-in?
So, I was a little skeptical about Fractal because we've seen him dominate in DAS, and then he would sometimes alternate going from DAS to rolling, and at some points in the stream he's saying, oh my gosh, I can't seem to get the rolls that I want, to the point that in Genesis, and again I'm basing a lot of what I've noticed in live events, Fractal did not make it to the finals that year. He got beaten by Alex T in Genesis. So I was having a theory that maybe he's just focusing more on desk than rolling. But until someone, I think Oscar, was telling me like, no, Fractal's actually getting even better. So like you said, maybe he's trying to get his rolling finesse back on.
Of course, I purposely did not mention stats real quick because I wanted to mention that one key thing that I've been paying attention to in his streams. In terms of stats, of course, let's not forget 2023 World Champion, clearing out Sidnev in a reverse sweep himself.
Mm-hmm.
I think people usually forget about the fact that Dog did the reverse sweep like 3 years prior, but that sweep, of course, is the one that people remember more of because Fractal basically was looking for redemption after the year before when he lost to Eric.
Yeah, that was the uncapped 29 kill screen, and 2023 was the first time they implemented the kill screen.
Yeah, exactly.
The double kill screen.
You also have his, I believe it was, oh, tell me if I'm wrong, 9 CTM wins in total.
Ooh, that's a... Probably, I haven't kept.
Van, well, where are you? I know he has that slide in particular of like the total stats.
Yeah, at some point he was like getting consecutive CTM master wins, so I wouldn't be surprised if that number is accurate or even less than what we think.
January 2024, February 2024, and of course Mega Masters March 2024. I actually did remember that stat in particular when I was looking at streams. I was like, whoa, wait, he actually had a streak? Dang. Of course, let's not forget, like, you know, runner-ups in several events. Of course, he has won several of the regionals too. Like, it's not like he's always been the bridesmaid. So, definitely a threat. The second ever, I believe, to crash the game, of course.
The second crasher, correct, yes.
And on PAL, the first glitch colors.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, he has interesting ways of training, and that PAL sessions he's had was an interesting way to practice his rolling.
I'm gonna forget versatility. The fact that he can play right regardless of speed, regardless of you know, how the game is like. And then of course, let's not forget he's the first one to prove that it's possible to do the 810 line level charcoal on regular NES Tetris. I still remember that particular from videos I've been watching. Shout out to Game Scouts for those videos. Without those, I wouldn't have been able to make my stats and my predictions. But overall, I mean, the training regimen seems strong, and if he's able to carry that over into CTWC, no surprise if he himself makes a run. And, you know, proves that, you know, it's possible to do some insane acrobatics on NES Tetris.
Yes, agreed on that. We will probably see Fractal go pretty high again. Last year, he did get eliminated by someone who I did not expect to eliminate him, of course, which was Tristov, I believe.
We'll get to that in a moment. But yes, indeed, I mean, he was like the dark horse, of course, the last year, which, as I said, we'll get to that in a moment. Once we talk about those dark horses. Third of the top 5 that I'm saying is Blue Scooty. Overdue for a CTWC win, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, he, I believe, was 3rd place in 2023, right?
Lost to Sitnev.
And in 2024, I know he also got eliminated by, again, that dark horse, Tristov, last year.
Top 8. I remember just freaking out over the fact when I was talking about the top 8, about how great all of a sudden, like, Tristov just popped off this year. And this was a guy that I knew, like, I knew him personally. He was a funny person, and he himself is passionate. But to see him, like, you know, flip out over the many things he's done last year, it's just incredible to see, and I was just so happy for him. But of course, let's push that away for now. As I said before, it's all about Blue Scooty. First game crasher. Of course, becoming the youngest as well, at the age of 13, and even till now, he has proved prowess. I mean, he's mentioned the CTWC records speak for themselves. His CTM records speak for themselves, because I believe he was the first person to hit 10 CTM finals.
Oh wow!
Who does that?
I guess it's Blue Scooty.
Thanks for quoting Big Game Scout. He said the almost exact same thing about Alex T when I was talking about that. But yeah, no, apparently he can do that, and he has shown, like, you know, he can persist regardless of who he's facing. The question is, will he finally transfer that into CTWC?
Yeah, so interesting comment that I noticed about Blue Scooty, and this was also, I'm not gonna quote it that it was me who thought about it, but it was Barrett who made this observation. As you know, because Blue Scooty was the first ever to crash the game, that caused him to have a lot of media attention, and to the point that a documentary crew was following him around through that year, through almost every regionals he's gone to and won, to the point that CTWC 2024 they were still continually following him.
Wait.
And because of what happened in 2024 when he lost, that the whole documentary crew is not following him anymore. And ever since that started happening, like, he had no more documentary crew to follow, he's just been popping off, winning regional events, like you said, just showing, like, making it to the finals in the Jonas Cup and all of that stuff.
Wait, who said that again?
Barrett.
Oh, Barrett, I hate that guy. He beat me just last year. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Shout out to you, Barrett. I'll be honest. It's just a joke. I mean, he was the only Tetris player I've ever faced in an actual CTWC match. I could take down Nenu, but I can't take down Barrett. What? Shows how inconsistent I am. But in all seriousness, I definitely agree with what he said. It's kind of interesting, you know, to see that once the publicity, like, kind of died down, all of a sudden it looked as though he was finding more comfortable. You know, he didn't feel as though there was much pressure on him, and then he just started absolutely tearing. So,
and because there will probably be no documentary crew following him except for the CTWC cameras, but no documentary crew following him, I'm pretty sure we could potentially see him go far again.
Oh boy, yeah, there is very good potential that the cameras might have been the problem. Oh, that'll be funny though. It's like, you know, if he ends up winning, right? What would the publicity say? Like, doggone, you didn't follow him this year. Why did you?
Right.
Anyways, fourth on the docket, for the big my big five, of course, Alex T. First 10 mil, last year's champion, last year's Mega Masters champion, I believe. I think. Did I get it wrong?
He won one of the Mega Masters.
Oh wait, 2023.
It was against. The name is making me. People thought they were the same people at one point. I forget his name.
It's kind of,
but yeah.
It's kind of blank on me as well. Actually, you have the stats. You can actually check it, like stat.
NGC, not NGC man, but
Tommy NTG.
Tommy NTG. There you go.
Yeah, I just realized. Oh yeah, it was. Because I remember that Game Scout did the video on, like, the greatest Tetris game ever because of the double kill screen. The double kill screen that happened. So, thanks for jogging my brain on that one. But yeah, no. Speaking of that, 7 CTM wins, last year's champion, the first Mega Masters champion, of course. Far to say that he's out of it. And granted, I think people can say that he's... I mean, I'm not too sure if people can say it, but I feel like he's not been as, you know, talked about as of recently.
We're talking about Alex T, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he kind of went down a little bit just because he was focusing on his studies. He didn't want to do the rebirth grind because it was just taking too much time on his hands, and, you know, he's a kid. He wants to have fun and not just always play Tetris 100%.
And I think that stems from, you know, the mentality shift he had in that 10 mil score when he mentioned, like, you know, the stuff that he, you know, went through to realize that, wait a second, it's just mental. That's why I've not been having fun. So it's good to see that even in his young age, he's mature, to see that, you know, that something's more than others, and that he doesn't have to always be pushing for that. Now, granted, Dog finally pulling off the rebirth kind of probably also gave him the sense that, okay, I don't have to do it. Someone else already did it. And even Fractal himself said it's not over for him, it's over for us. Like, Fractal himself felt it was more of a team effort to have someone finally hit the rebirth screen rather than just be an individual effort. Now, if it happens that someone says, oh, I want to try and grind for rebirth myself after CTWC happens this year, then that'll be an interesting story to cover. If it ends up in due time, we see another one finally hitting that mark. But I think now with Dog's accomplishment, I think more people are just like, okay, let me just focus on my own game, my own Tetris, my own CTWC performance, and hope for the best in due time in June.
Agreed. And we'll find out again soon because CTWC is on the corner and Alex T does have a championship to defend.
Oh yeah, we've yet to see it defending since the Dog, so we'll see if it happens this time again. Last person that I'm saying is a potential to win it all, Pixel Andy. I mean, when you have 5 DAS Master Championships, including 4 in a row, I believe? Or 5 in a row? I forgot, honestly, which one it was. But even then, when you have 5 DAS Championships, you are proving to the rest that your stacking is impeccable. And I think you can agree, Ninja, that it's not just the fact that you can roll, it's not just the fact that you can survive at high levels, but it's also the fact you can stack efficiently to get as many Tetris as possible, even when RNG says, like, no.
Yeah. With those droughts.
Droughtful droughts.
the long bar.
I see what you mean. I know what you mean, but it's just funny, like droughtful droughts.
And I was like trying to think of how to say that. Then I just double said droughts, but yeah, Andy's stacking is also pretty good as well. Just because seeing him like can play both DAS and roll and tap at one point, knows how to play all 3 play styles. It's just impressive.
Exactly. My one thing I'm just a bit concerned for, though, is the fact that he hasn't really had much to talk about ever since his 8.9 mil record. Granted, I'm not saying that he's not doing anything good, it's just that, similar to Alex T, I haven't really heard much of him.
Yeah, I mean, people have said that he's injured his hand. That was non-Tetris related, though. So maybe that kind of wear and tear is making him play a little bit more... not grinding the game as much as we think he should be grinding this game to play Tetris to be ready for CTWC. Maybe he's just saving it on the main game.
To your point, though, bringing back the conversation, the interview that Dog had in May 2025 Masters, he himself said that, you know, it's not necessarily a regimen that you're following that should be followed when you're playing Tetris. He kind of mentioned about the lines of, let me try to remember this quote, like, you know, just like pushing the kill screen, proving to yourself that you can survive a kill screen consistently, and that shows that you're fit. Although I'm not too sure if he means the actual fit. I think he means Tetris fit.
Well, Tetris can be both mental and physical.
That's true, yeah. And I mean, when you have such a low, when you have like the super kill screen level 39 and you have like 29 to 39 to contend with to try and get as many points as possible, let me think about this. I guess, yeah, you could say definitely still mental, because when pieces start not going your way, when you want to get Tetris into the higher levels, it's like, okay, just push, push, push. Sooner the pieces will go my way, and I'll be able to capitalize on it. So, yeah, I can see that mental is also still a very big factor when it comes to playing Tetris proficiently. But even then, boy. I mean, I was just hoping that his I mean, he's still doing all right. Granted, maybe the lack of maybe the slower practice could be a benefit to him. You never know.
Yeah, not putting too much strain on his hand if it is still slightly injured.
Well, hopefully in due time will heal. If not, if it will be back to full shape. All right, so yeah, that's my big five. As I said before, those were mostly off of stats, mostly off of like my observations and what I think will, who I think will definitely have a very good shot with their current status. Now, granted, all these are stats like off the surface. If I dig deeper, I probably would have thought a few more that definitely could be in the running. But I mean, I didn't have time. The script that I made, I'm not kidding, was made, I'm not kidding, 2 hours ago.
Oh wow.
So I had to scramble for that, but even then, I'm just glad that I did have observations to base off of yesterday in order for me to make my own opinions. And of course, today when Dog won, this interview actually spoke quite a bit to how I feel like Tetris should be played, let alone how Tetris should be. Now, you mentioned Tristop earlier. Time for the dark horses in my eyes. And I mean, if you're wanting to disagree and argue against that, Ninja, go ahead. I definitely will be up to opinion. First up, Tristop.
And I'm not going to disagree with that based on what I saw in his performance in 2024.
I mean, who beats 2 game crashes in a row?
Yeah, so good that Kingsman was dubbing him that year as the Legend Killer.
I mean, Joseph Saley himself had to defeat legends in order to win his first championship. I'm also waiting for the time we see yet another Legend Slayer, and Tristop is prime to fit in that category.
Yeah, and I haven't really seen him play a lot in his streams, but like you said, you know, he seems to be just getting better and better. And let's see, based on some of his stats, if I can pull it up on here. Where is he? Yeah, his fair median score in 2024 is 1.2. Okay, so we don't have a lot of data on him in 2025.
Shows that he's well, then again, will be interesting to see. Of course, we saw that friendly that he did, so there's no question that he is not. But there's no question that he is participating or not. One thing that Gandhi actually commented about Trista while he was playing against him is like, bro, why is your 18 so consistent? And
Gandhi was asking him that.
Oh no, yeah, he was talking about that because every time he looked at the screen, like, why is this guy consistent 600k? And it felt as though that his Tetris rates were very good. Like, I think it was like 2 times out of the 3 games I observed that he was at 84% Tetris rate at transition. Now, granted, of course, that could be because of the pieces, but you can't deny that consistency in Tetris percentage at that high of a rate is not a fluke.
Nope, it's not. Especially if we're talking about Tristop's consistency, being one of the very few. Was he the first or one of the few to get that 1.3 in Dash?
On Dash, yes.
So that's why we can see him play that consistent, like transferring that kind of stacking mentality to his playstyle.
Oh yeah, exactly. And it's also not, I mentioned the fact that, as I mentioned, Pixel Andy, 5 Dash Master Championships. So he himself knows how to stack. If a person who can stack super well tells someone that their 18 is very good or very consistent, that's a big statement towards Tristop. So, no question, he's a threat to topple the tops in CTWC this year. Again, at that. Second on the list of my dark horses, Miles. I dubbed it as
the Great?
Miles. I dubbed him Miles the Magician for a reason. If I feel as though that he's able to like just pull out some insane acrobatics, even in the most like dire of like his times when he's playing Tetris.
Okay.
And I feel like if he can do upsets in games, there's no question that he's due for an upset in the entire match.
In 2024, didn't he go up like what did he place? I believe
He lost to Dog round of 16, I believe. Yes.
around 6. Okay.
Around 16? Yeah, around 16 because it was day 3. And of course that crazy 300k like comeback that he did speaks into itself, like how crazy he can play. As I said, for me, due for an upset, a full match upset rather than a game upset.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't have put him in my dark horse list because again, I haven't really seen him play as much as well. And once it's my turn, I could tell you my top 5 based on, or my 5 who I think is gonna make it.
Oh, the top 4, like the semifinalists, the finalists, and champion.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I mean, for those fun, I did tell him to do that before we came here, so that we can kind of like, we talk about it, and then after the tournament, once we come back, we can say, oh, you predicted wrong. Oh, wait a second, your accuracy was almost clear.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about Tetris accuracy, but how about bracket accuracy? Ooh.
Ooh. Uh-huh.
That'll be interesting to talk about once you come back from Cali.
Come back from Cali. I am in Cali.
Oh wait, you. Oh, I actually didn't know that.
Yeah. So, yeah. Once CTWC is done, then I'm still home sweet home.
Well, that's convenient. Anyways, but well, we also, yeah, I agree. Miles is not rated as like prominent with CTWC or CTM stuff. But honestly, looking back at his performance, I feel like he can still do magical things. And if he does it again, I will still dub him Miles the Magician.
Yeah, I know in 2022 he did have it rough when his controller wasn't cooperating with him.
Oh.
That's why he was in the silver bracket in 2022 when they first got back in person.
Oh, okay.
And so, now that his controller is okay now, he was able to make it far in 2024, being in the top 16. And yeah, I guess we'll just see where he goes. Again, I don't know much about Miles because I haven't been keeping up with him. I don't know what was the last regional he attended, but I know he didn't. I haven't seen him win any recently.
Hang on, I just realized I have one more one more dark horse I want to talk about later. I just came up in the last second. I'll talk about it later. Next one, though, I want to talk about an obvious one that just popped out this year, I believe. You know what I'm talking about, Ninja?
I have a feeling, but I want to hear you first, unless I should guess who I think you're thinking of.
I mean, we could just keep going on and not talking about it, and they can become a meme. Sorry. Sorry, bad joke. But tell you, I mean, meme is not a meme. She can play. And the fact that she has directed the best Tetris players in like not only like CTM but also regionals.
Mm-hmm.
That's scary in it of itself.
Yeah, we're talking a specific Genesis regional, right?
Yep. Okay, I mentioned about Blue Scooty being overdue, Ninja. Would you say meme is also overdue?
Yeah, I believe the first time I've heard of meme was, of course, in 2020, making it to the finals in a meme's bracket group at that time. So, and that was when meme was still hyper tapping. So, I think you are right about Meme being overdue for a champion. I know Meme didn't make it far in 2024. Probably just went through round 0, I believe, against Messex.
That I will have to check. I know, who was it who did the liquid wiki for CTWC? I did actually look this up before I came here, so let me see here. There we go, bracket. There's Wikipedia. The nice thing is that all of it is actually shown here, so yeah, she won 3-0 against Messex, lost to Fractal 3-0.
Okay. But now since Meme has just been getting better and better, it's gonna be impressive to see how far Meme can go in this year.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, just have to check something real quick. Definitely overdue, and I can't wait to see the moment that she pops off. It may not be CTWC, but she definitely will deserve any tournament she wins from here on out because she has worked for it.
Yeah, one of the things I think that helps Meme become so good at Tetris is her mindset, always being positive. And I think again, but having a positive mindset can make Meme go far.
I agree.
I know that Meme is a very, very humble player as well.
I agree with that. I don't think there was any Tetris match that I saw her, whether it be the video or stream, where she was not smiling after topping out. Now, of course, that's pure observations. There may be a time when it's frustrated, but to be honest, oh yeah, actually, I can recall a match that she had that I think it was game 2, game 3, that she had absolutely horrific RNG. That was probably the first time I saw her frustrated, which understandably, it felt as though that none of the pieces were working with her.
Oh wow.
So I mean,
minus those rare moments, it's mostly positive.
Yeah, mostly positive. So hopefully, I mean, in before that positivity becomes infectious. Other people doing the same. That'd be quite cool to see.
It'll be contagious.
Yeah, exactly. All right, next person in particular is actually the one I just added onto this list, Huffaluffagus.
Oh wow.
Runner-up 2021, I believe. Beat Joseph Saley not once but twice, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
During his time. And oh boy, what was it? He himself has also placed pretty well in the current era of CTWC as well. You can pull up the stats if you want. For me, Huff just feels also overdue. He himself, I believe, has not. I know he has won CTM. CTWC definitely is in his grasp. He can definitely play against the bigger ones. I feel as though that if he has been training well, he can be another dark horse that could come out from nowhere.
That's true. I another one of those players who I haven't seen as much, but I do know he tends to play in the very conservative side in kill screen. So if he is gonna plan on going far, he's gonna have to turn up a lot of aggression in 29.
Indeed. I feel like, I mean, I don't mean to quote myself, but I feel like it's gonna take RNG to be very against a player in order for something like that to happen again. I mean, I myself managed to beat Nanu on the decider because RNG at the end was not being kind of particular. So, and then I myself had a record of matches where my opponent topped out due to bad RNG. And I can attest that it's not often that it happens, but when it happens, I mean, just capitalize on it.
Yeah.
if Huff wants to play conservatively, I mean, there's no fault in that. But if it ends up like being the actual strat on that year, I mean, so be it.
Yeah, well, because one of the things I did notice in 2021 was that when there was no line cap and Huff was one of the few rollers in 2021, a lot of players would be way ahead in points, but in kill screen it was just, you know, Huff just lining out to the point that he'll catch up to that point eventually, and that's what we saw a lot in the 2022 strats.
Yes, actually, you're right.
So having that line cap does change the mindset a little bit in how you're gonna play, which is of course to play more efficient.
And more importantly, you know, playing accurately too, knowing where the pieces, where to place the pieces. Man, the more I think about it, it really is now a two-part game. Like, it's not just being able to stack, like, you know, effectively left and right. It's also the fact you need to stack like accurately. Like, for those not in the know, when Nestris.org came out, like, they actually have the accuracy tracker now. You know, how well you place pieces to be more efficient. And now all of a sudden it's becoming a real factor, like, hey, you actually have to play accurately in order to, like, give yourself the best chances for Tetrises. And of course, not top out, that's a key thing too.
If you're talking about people who knows how to stack efficiently based on the the Nestris org or Stack Rabbit sense, I mean, oh well, I was gonna give another name, but I'll probably put a hold on that when it's my turn.
No worries, no worries. Alright, another dark horse I want to mention, and honestly, underrated, this man, Adam Dangler.
And you spoiled it for me, because that was the name I was gonna say.
I mean, come on, it's hard to not say that he's a dark horse.
Yeah, he surprised me in 2024, making it very far. And of course, after I realized, oh yeah, he was the first one to make the perfect max out.
It's just the fact that someone happens to be his kryptonite. Remember how, like, you know when you know when Pixel Andy did, like, interviews about, and people have been asking, like, how his brother was his kryptonite every time in CTM? Until, of course, the time when he finally got the one-up on Dog to win a CTM, let alone take the world record, let alone win the Crash tournament that he did with Fractal and Blue Scooty. It's like as though, like, Dog has to have someone who is his kryptonite. Because right after, that was where we realized that Adam Dangler just seems to can't get a game win off of Dog. Like, what I was wondering, in CTWC, he's 0-6 to Dog.
0-6 against Dog, wow. Trying to see where he is on the bracket here. Why can I not see his name?
Just something real quick, sorry guys. Alright, sorry, I did just something real quick.
Okay.
But
Oh no, I was just seeing to see where Noah is.
oh wait, did I say wait? Did I say Adam? Sorry.
You said Adam Dangler?
I came into this thinking, so wait, what was Dangler's first name? I just put Adam.
You're thinking of Adam Wells, but
probably.
Noah.
Yeah, Noah Dangler. Yeah, that makes a whole lot more sense. Jeez Louise, I'm bad. He himself, I mean, top 8 year before, top 4 last year. He has to be on the up and up.
Though there is a little bit of some controversy why he might not make it to the top.
Oh?
Because his achievements that he's been doing as of recently is using a modified controller that's not really. If you've seen his streams, he has this interesting controller that he's been using, and it's not trying to change anything to what the NES controller does, the OEMs, except for the fact that it's a little bit fatter and allows you to increase or decrease the tension of the screws without actually having to use a screwdriver. But that becomes an issue about modified controllers being used, so that might lead into a factor of maybe of how he performs in this year's CTWC.
Interesting. I mean, if he's able to like adapt to the regular controls again, he definitely can be a threat with how he stacks. It's just a matter probably of execution then.
Yeah, which he should probably be focusing more on just playing with the OEM controllers rather than his modified controller, so he can go as far as he did last year.
Exactly. And even then, I feel like just give him the right path and he will tear. Like, if you think about it, as I mentioned before, Dogblade Tetris just is kryptonite at the moment, being 0 for 6. If you talk about any other player, potentially he could make it far, but let's just hope that he has a much easier route and he can at least capitalize on it at that. Anyways, on to the last member of the Dark Horse Club. I think you probably saw this one also coming, Ninja. Sitnev.
Sitnev was not on my list, in the fact that I know Sitnev was very busy with school. Now that school is done, I know pretty much sure Sitnev can start focusing more on Tetris, but I don't know if that's going to be enough time.
Correct, I know she will have to also travel from the Netherlands to USA. I'm not sure how easily feasible that'll be for now. But if she's able to attend, I can see her also, finally putting a statement.
Yeah. It would be very interesting, especially to see how far Sitnev can make it, because, like you said, Sitnev was in the finals in 2023.
Top 8. Yeah, top 8 in 2024, and of course recently lost to Dog in the Mega Masters finals.
And I'm just curious how much, of course, jet lag will be a factor. Sitnev would have to be here a little bit earlier just to adapt to the time zone.
Hang on, I need to check something real quick, because I just realized I need to remind myself who she defeated in order to make it all the way here. Let's just have a look-see. I have the leaderboard basically on my phone right now. That's why I'm checking this.
In 2024?
He did beat Dangler, and he did beat Neko in semis to make it to the finals. Okay, that was what I was checking. Yeah, actually, when I look at my list... Yeah, because... Oh, who defeated Alex in this year's Masters, Mega Masters?
It was Sitnev?
Was it Sitnev?
Oh, you said who beated Alex?
Who would beat Alex T in the Mega Masters? Oh, actually, hang on. There's the playlist I was looking for.
Akatu.
Yeah, Akatu. And he faced who in top 8?
This was top 32.
Wait, Ati lost it. Oh yeah.
Alex T lost to Akatu.
Yeah, because that was the one of the big 5 that got knocked out. Okay, never mind. The reason I was just checking is I was trying to figure out Sitnev's full route. But even then, the fact that she made it all the way to the finals for the biggest online tournament, I can't say she's out of the running for the actual World Championships. Let's just hope that she's able to make it to California again, though, because it would be kind of a bummer if she's left out of it, to be honest.
Yeah. So there was an upset in Masters this month where Sidnev lost to Cobra.
Ooh, interesting. Oh wait, but Cobra. Okay, I'm not saying the Dark Horse, but I know Cobra's still a good player. Well, I know that. So props to Cobra definitely. And it doesn't affect, for me, it doesn't affect my positioning of her as a Dark Horse. She can still pretty much, you know, put a statement onto the rest and say, hey, like, I can become the first non-American champion finally, and just watch me play.
Though Sidnev did take the second place trophy to internationally.
Yeah. Well, one due time we'll see what she can do. As long as she's able to arrive, as I said before. Okay, so with all the Dark Horses, with all the big five as I positioned out of the way, Ninja, it's time. I told Ninja, and I also did it myself, to predict our top 4 players for this year's CTWC. Now, of course, as we mentioned earlier, no such thing as a safe lead, and anyone can really win at this point, considering how great every player can be and how one bit of bad RNG can affect an entire tournament. With that said, though, I'm gonna go down the order, like fourth and third place. Who are your third and fourth places?
In no particular order between the third and fourth, or
it doesn't matter because they're going to be tied third and overall anyways.
Okay. So, controversially, I have a strong feeling that this person will be guaranteed top 8, but to be top 4 is almost scary. So it could and it's not going to be in the list that you said in your top 5, or even your Dark Horses.
Oh.
And the person who I'm talking about is Tetris Time. I'm putting him on my top 4.
You think it's his time?
I think it's his time. He proved to the community he was able to go to back-3-back regionals and win all back-3-back regionals. He did lose to Fractal in Genesis, but ever since that loss, like his rolling has just progressed to the point like is this the same Tetris Time? And he has a lot to prove to the community that he is a force to be reckoned. Last year in CTWC, that was the last time we saw him table tapping. So he's a full-time roller, and I'm almost guaranteed he's gonna make top 8. But to make it to the top 4, I feel like it's a possibility.
Who was your second top 4 player then?
Second top 4. It was really tough to decide who this might be, and I was gonna say Blue Scooty.
Ho
to it.
Explain. Don't worry. I'm not saying bad. Explain.
So like I said earlier about what's been happening to Blue Scooty, now that the media has kind of like stopped following him around, he's able to really play his best, and he tends to be showing how good he is. Like there was a point when he never got a DAS max out, and then now he's just getting them to the point that DAS, which was not his first playstyle, was able to make it to the finals in Jonas Cup. He had the best qualifiers in CTWC 2024. Yeah, so I think Blue Scooty it would be in the third or fourth.
I see. All right, my turn. My first top 4 player, I'm predicting. I'm going to say it's a back-to-back top 4 appearance for the Dark Horse Tristop. I honestly, seeing his performance and seeing what he did with Pixel Andy yesterday, I feel like his efficiency on 18 and his masterful play in the later levels, especially kill screen. I feel like you give him the right pieces, he will put on a tear. And I feel like he has the potential to get back to top 4 and potentially topping out some of the better like Tetris players in his eyes, and probably our eyes too.
Yeah, I could see your point on that. I mean, he did scare me then thinking like, oh my gosh, he might actually eliminate Alex T in 2024.
That's true. He was one game away. He was one game away from beating Alex T, the eventual champion. And that's nothing to scoff at, of course. My second top 4 player. This guy, for me, I feel is overdue to return to top 4. I feel like he's like the Buko of the classic era, the previous era. I'm talking about Pixel Andy. Now, I know this seems a bit biased, considering I just pulled the 2 players I've observed yesterday, but hear me out. For me, right, I feel like ever since 2024, when he finally got the 8.9 mil record, he's just been getting better and better and better with stacking. His 5 DAS Master Championships are no fluke. You gotta remember that DAS is a game, can be sometimes a game of fluke to itself, because if you don't get the right pieces and you're not able to push pieces properly to left and right, you can see yourself topping out very quickly. But to be proficient, to be enduring, to be, what's the last word I'm thinking of?
Enduring, perseverance, I don't know.
No, oh boy, hang on. Enduring, to be proficient, to be efficient, to be enduring, to be, you know what, excellent at playing Tetris at the early levels, to where you're able to pull up scores like what he has done. It requires a lot of practice, and I feel like with that practice, despite the bad hand, he is in good position to make a run once again. And I'm hoping that our injured hand will not bother him too much till the end.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah, no injury for him, but that's a good top 4 prediction. He's been what's that word? Second fiddle to his brother at most of the time, but he's been trying to show that, hey, I'm not gonna be second fiddle to my brother. I'm actually a top tier player.
I am Pixel Andy. All right, back to you, Ninja. It's your turn. Who is your predicted runner-up?
Okay. This was gonna be tough, and I already had this in mind even before you asked me who was gonna be the top 4. I'm gonna say it's Meme. Meme has shown how much good I mean, just the gameplay I've seen with Meme and sweeping Alex T and Genesis was just impressive. There was something that was actually not shown at CTWC Genesis at that time, and this was during warm-ups. Meme just had a casual 2 million in one of those warm-ups.
With super kill screen on?
No super kill screen.
Oh,
okay.
just But to your point, continue.
But yeah, so I know Meme and just in general, like, and maybe this is probably boosting her morale. Like, she's getting a lot of she has a lot of popularity in the community, especially when and I'm just basing this on like YouTube popularity, is getting the views and everything because people like to see Meme. And I'm just kind of relating that because like when Blue Scooty was the talk of the Tetris community from being the first game crasher, it just gave him a big boost in well, I don't know if it was confidence, because I said maybe that was the reason why he didn't win CTWC 2024. I'm just thinking that maybe that would be Meme being runner-up, especially with the way I've seen the performance.
I see. I can see that. Yeah, that confidence will definitely steamroll into hopefully something great. It's interesting that you didn't put her at top, though, I'll be honest. I'm curious to see who you put as number 1 in due time. But, before you get to that, it's my turn to say my runner-up. I'll be honest, this was a painful one, to be honest, because I really hope, in my eyes, that he will win this year. But I'm putting second place to Blue Scooty. I feel like with the media coverage finally out, that he'll be able to finally perform his best without too many problems. If anything, I feel like it wasn't necessarily the media coverage, but being the number 1 seed in last year's CTWC, that added even more pressure for him to perform. Like, you can have all the media coverage you want, but if you think about it, he's gotten used to it by then in June last year. I feel like it was also just the fact that, hey, you're a Tops brother, you are the one to beat. That, you know, whilst he is mature, you cannot disagree that for a 14-year-old person, it's not easy to hold the emotions. So in my eyes, that was the bigger factor as to why Blue Scooty kind of crumbled in certain parts. And I feel like now that if he's able to control himself with how he has done with his CTM performance, he can do so much more than he is capable of. But for me, I still see one person I doubt he will be defeating this year. And I'll get to that once you tell me, Ninja. You mentioned earlier, if I remember correctly, it was third place Tetris Time and... Wait, hang on. Tetris Time and... Blue Scooty. And second place is Meme. Who is winning CTWC 2025?
Okay. So... I have a strong feeling that this player will win.
Actually, hang on. You explain first. You explain. Don't tell me the name yet. Just explain as to why you think he is.
Well,
I mean, am I wrong?
I'm not gonna say yet, but I just have a feeling that this person will win, because just as much as I said that Tetris Time is very aggressive in kill screen, I think this person is just as aggressive. I know in the past, like, maybe we haven't seen this player perform well, but sometimes, you know, you got to take your breaks. But now, because CTWC is just around the corner, you know, this person might win it.
Hey, pause there. For me, I feel like my top person to win CTWC this year is overdue to do on a revival. I feel like with what he has shown recently, there's no question that in my eyes that he will finish up the job as what he have done, just to show that he is truly the greatest Tetris player of all time. Not just of our current era, but of all time. Ninja, on the count of 3, say your name. We'll say your name together. 1.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Dog.
Alex T.
Are we really
the finals?
Did we really just say the 2 finalists of last year?
Yeah. I didn't want to give a big spoiler about because I know Alex T did perform that well, but the only reason why I know he's gonna do well is because he's finally done with school, or will be done with school, that he won't be too bogged down with that. And yeah, it was hard for me not to put Dog in that top 4.
You're putting Dog outside of top 4 though?
I know that was hard for me to decide, because when it comes down to the top players, and I know Dog can be aggressive in 29, I think Tetris Time and Alex T are just as aggressive in kill screen than Dog.
That's true. Like I feel like with him, he's able to play aggressive early while still like ensuring he doesn't top out quickly.
And with Dog, like you were saying earlier, and that's why he didn't make my top 4. He's playing a little bit more conservative, but maybe that's what it takes to play.
That's very true, yeah. Alright, so, I mean, for me, on my side, I mean, you can't deny the 2-time world champion as a shot. And I feel like with what he has done, it's no question I feel like that momentum is going to keep continuing to steamroll the competition. And again, with the fact that he went 12-0 in CTM Masters just recently, I can't wait to see a potential 50... wait, hang on, I'll do the math real quick. If he ends up... Well, of course, if he ends up in top 32, which I won't be surprised if he does, I won't be surprised to see a 15 or 16-0 in his CTWC resume.
Wow. And yeah,
I know it's a big ask. For those watching, I know it's a big ask, but you can't tell me it's not possible. The odds are low, but never zero.
Never zero. Now, I do want to kind of comment on one major X factor about our stats and our reasoning why of the list that we chose. I think.
I'm so proud. Hi, Mari. How you doing?
Bro, getting interviewed. So proud. Who? Me interviewing Ali? Oh yeah. But there's one thing I'm a little. There's one X factor that's gonna make a big change to all of our predictions, and it's just being in a live event.
Hey,
a lot of stats we pulled was based on CTM, which of course is done online in the comfort of their own home, in the comfort of their own TV, the comfort of their own chair. But that when you're in a live event, that's gonna make a big difference.
Yep. Definitely when the lights are on and the money's on the line, it's definitely gonna be a big thing. I mean, let's not forget, Mega Masters, I believe Doc won 5K off of it. Alex that just win last year banked him 10K.
Yeah.
And I won't be surprised if this year's CTWC sees a even bigger payload for the first place winner.
Yeah, it's gonna be impressive. I'm just thinking, just because the live action or live event modes, people play different online versus in person. And if there was one person who I think feeds off the crowd between Dog and Alex T, I think it's Alex T.
And for me, it's just a momentum thing where I'm hoping he'll finally take number 3 and overtake Joseph Saley finally. Because if you think about it, once he overtakes Joseph Saley, I feel like there's almost no question about it. Because you can't really, I mean, granted, you really can't compare him to Jonas Dubois because it's two very different eras. Joseph Saley, I would say, was in the midst of that era shift. But for me, and Dog for me is in that that new era. That's why I'm mentioning that. So that's why I say that Dog, if he does it, probably unquestionably greatest Tetris player of all time. But that's our predictions, ladies and gentlemen. I'll also recap. Ninja has predicted Alex T to beat Meme with Blue Scooty and Tetris Time as runner-up, as third place tied. Meanwhile, I predict Dog playing Tetris to beat Blue Scooty, with Pixel Andy and Trista being the third place finishers. Well, we'll soon see in due time who's more right than the other. Or who's more wrong than the other, I don't know. We'll see in due time. Oh, you want to say something?
I don't know. I was just agreeing. We'll find out in a couple weeks because man, CTWC is just getting closer and closer.
6 to 8 June. As I said before, guys, I am not attending this year. I have way too much school stuff to attend to this year. And of course, I mean, the money payment that I had to do for like last year's trip was definitely more than expected. Granted, it was a good trip, like vacation, but boy, was it still expensive.
Yeah, especially with California just being expensive in general.
For those wondering, Tetris Time top 4 is a wild take. Mari, I mean, you never know. What was it? Like the ball is round in football, the T piece is spinning. I don't know. Well, miss seeing you, Lee. Hope it was all fun. I mean, dude, last year, as I mentioned, when I was with a Game Scout, when I did the CTWC 2024 results analysis, it was probably the best time I've ever had in my life, finally getting to meet friends I've known for 4 years online. I'm just hoping that in due time, I mean, I'm not saying that I want it to happen, but if someone's able to sponsor a trip for me to go to Cali, I mean, by all means.
You gotta sponsor this man, guys. First.
And Millie also Alan Bud, because I feel like he deserves a spot as well with the rest of the crew in CTWC. Like the moment I see him act in CTWC physically will be the day I shed a tear.
He deserves it.
I think all the top 16 or so will be very close, except Scooty Dog. The middle of the pack will be a dogfight for top 8 of top 4. I mean, for one, there will definitely be a dogfight, if you know any Mari.
Dogfight, doggo. Yeah.
But yeah.
But
But
oh yeah, that's my prediction. A lot of things I'm also thinking about in CTWC is, of course, qualing. How that can be an X factor sometimes. If you're not getting the scores that you want, the max outs that you need, can that deter your game in general? Every time I play matches, I tend to do better in person than I play online. So we'll see how that will compare to these players. It's crazy to see what's going to happen in CTWC. It's going to be bigger and better.
Indeed. And of course, for those wondering, it's going to be held 6 to 8 June at Pasadena, California. For those who want to attend on in person, of course, there is the Twitch that we'll be attending to when it comes to qualifiers, when it comes to matches, etc., etc. Go check them out in Classic Tetris 1, 2, 3, and 4. How you doing, Nutristic? And Serenity, to address that question, I was a caster for championships. I actually did some qualifiers and also did the bronze bracket as well, alongside Fractal, fun fact.
Yeah, who did you commentate also in the quals in CT2, I believe?
Oh yes, I was with you, Ninja, of course. I did not forget that.
Yeah. And yeah, we're gonna be a very busy staff that year, so
yeah,
good luck to all the players there.
Yeah, Ninjas will be there indeed. Oh yeah, CT5 for other languages, indeed. Let's not forget about that. Of course, oh, you know what? I almost forgot the very last thing I want to mention. Why CTWC 2025 is going to be hype. Guess who's finally returning after, I believe, 4 years. No, 5 years.
Is it a Japanese player?
KORYAN did mention on stream he's returning to CTWC. Now that's actually huge.
Very huge.
He'll also be the oldest player there, I believe.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if he's the oldest gold bracket player there.
Dude, that'll be crazy. I mean, here's the thing. His record, I believe, within an hour is 2 max outs. If he can do that in 1 hour, how much can he do in 2?
Double it, triple it. But
oh wait, green tea, Mari? Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Green team. I mean, I'm no offense to green team, but green team sweeps silver bracket.
Ooh, that would be interesting to see that happen.
That'll be crazy to see. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we have talked all we needed to. Overall, that's your preview for CTWC 2025. Our predictions, our reasoning as to why this year is going to be the best year ever. And of course, Ninjas will be there to cast it. I will be back home tracking the stats. And of course, because I'm tracking the stats, I will have a podcast in June discussing every single thing that happened, the matches, the crazy moments, and of course, the eventual champion. So yeah, due time, you might as well, bro. I wouldn't be back. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I can't wait for that day. As I said, I will probably get Ninjas back, of course. I might even get one more person in. I know I got a Game Scout last year to discuss the stats. And who knows, I might be able to get him back again.
That would be awesome.
Thank you for making a thumbnail face, by the way, Ninja.
Oh, of course. I gotta do it for the views. For you.